I am delighted to say that we have with us now David Cardno and Neil Dockar of FD4, as promised. And the theme of today's show, as you know, is what's the value of a finance director? And I believe that you two guys are good people to be asking that question. So first of all, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Mark. Good to be here.
Good to have you. So why should, and particularly big businesses have a whole range of directors, but when you're thinking of a smaller business, a business that doesn't currently have a finance director, why should they be paying out an appropriate salary and give someone that title? What are they going to bring to the table?
That's a good question, Mark. And fundamentally, I think you can put it down to a very simple premise that as finance directors and part-time finance directors, we simply make companies be more successful. And just because you're a smaller company doesn't mean that the basic business principles that apply to the larger company don't also apply to the smaller company. So one of the things which obviously a finance director brings is a degree of discipline. They help with the accurate and timely management of data. If you don't understand where you're making your money, then by definition you're not going to be making as much as you should be. The other key role that we play is one of mentoring the managing director and their team, because particularly in the smaller companies, it can be a very lonely place running a company. And what we do is we come in, and because of the years of experience that we've got, we can act as a sounding board. We can sort of test ideas. We can bring ideas from other disciplines. So in very simple terms, we just help make companies more successful.
I thought you were saying we help companies make more money. That's Neil, by the way, just to distinguish who's heard. You heard first from Neil.
Thanks, Mike.
Absolutely. And presumably, David, you'll be in complete agreement with that. Can't imagine you disagreeing with Neil.
You know, I almost always agree with Neil. I mean, I think basically, there's some tricks you learn which can be helpful to any business. You know, whether it's like how to, squeeze cash out of working capital. That's the things you learn in one company, and you can apply that to every situation.
Absolutely. You are the expert, I suppose, and if you come into a business as the finance director, you're then the financial whiz who's going to be helpful. I think the word part-time, or is that one word or two? The hyphenated word part-time needs to crop up here, because that's something that when I were a lad was never really a case. If someone was part-time, they were probably a secretary or maybe a cleaner or something. But the potential these days to have a part-time director, be that I know of a company that offers part-time sales directors, and you do part-time finance directors. So how does that work?
Well, the key distinction is part-time for the company. The individuals are not part-time. So
Yes.
basically, individuals are more like managing a portfolio of companies, so they will be full-time. I mean, I work as hard as I've ever done in my career. You're available, I wouldn't say 24/7, but respond quite quickly. So even when on holiday. So part-time means part-time for the company, and then they're not paying for a full-time person. But the person they're dealing with will be around every day of the week and will be on contact by mobile or by email, not like immediately, but within a reasonable response time.
Okay.
Yeah, I think, Mark, the other key thing is that part-time doesn't mean that you're not committed. You're absolutely committed. And one of the things which we build into the network of finance directors that are working for FD4 is that you need to become a key business partner of the client. And the advantage of what we now do is that you only pay for the resource as and when you need it, because by definition, the smaller companies will not need a highly experienced finance director on a permanent basis. It just wouldn't be an affordable proposition. And to be quite honest, one of the things which we do is we're passionate about what we do. And a quality finance director, in the sense that the type of individuals who work for us, would actually get bored. And we don't do that. We don't have them twiddling their thumbs.
The other thing, it's not even new to us. In my last corporate role, I helped manage 5 subsidiaries. And they were quite different.
Okay.
There's one larger in America, which is like over $100 million turnover, and a small one in India, which is under $5 million turnover. One was growing, one was kind of flat or in slight decline. So I'm used to managing a portfolio of different issues.
Okay. And if someone engages you as or indeed there may be other part-time finance directors out there in the big wide world, who knows, but you're here right now, so let's talk about you. If someone engages you, do they get you for a predetermined, you're going to come in every Monday morning or the 3rd of every month or something like that? Or is it that you're pretty much on call for when something crops up that needs your input?
it can be as structured as a business wants. I mean, normally when you start with a business, there's a bit of a learning curve. So it's kind of more work at the start to learn how the business works, learn about the individuals in the business and how you can actually help them. So it really depends what the business needs. I mean, businesses are different sizes, and also businesses have got different levels of resource inside the business. So there's so many different moving parts in that question. It's hard to give a one answer.
So okay, in a couple of weeks we've got somebody coming in from, we've got Leo Sykes coming in from RSM Tenon, who are a recovery and insolvency company, and one of the things I know I want to talk to him about is what are the signs that one should look for before they call him. So in a potentially more positive light, what are the signs, and my business is in its ascendancy, what are the signs, and here I am, I run it, I might have 2, 3, 5 people working for me, it may or may not be the 5 million a year that you're talking about as turnover. What are the things I should be looking out for that will make me say, you know what, I need a part-time finance director?
It could be things like, I'm profitable, but my cash is going down. I mean, that's quite like a kind of a strange thing to happen, but as businesses grow, they need more working capital. Mm-hmm. So to understand how that whole thing works can be quite confusing.
Can I ask a question there? Because to know that you're more profitable, but my cash is going down, you presumably been talking... If you're like me, you'd have been talking to your accountant. What's the difference between you and the accountant that works for the companies? A small company, I'm thinking, who can't afford a big finance director, the kind of person you described. They've probably got an accountant.
Yeah, I think one of the things which typically is the difference between a commercial finance director and a bookkeeper stroke accountant is the accountant is very good on telling you what's happened. They're absolutely precise on recording the numbers, telling you exactly where you've made the money or not made the money. What they're not very good, and where we come in, is focusing people on the end point. It's saying, let's be clear on where we're trying to take this business. Let's then work out how we get there. Let's put a roadmap together, and let's measure ourselves properly against how we're doing. So if then the company is going off the track, it will not come as a surprise. And one of the key things, like when you talk to the likes of RSM and Tenon, one of the things that happens is some companies are really very good, but they've just lost track of what they're trying to do. They actually go off the rails and they haven't actually realised. So again, what we do is we help put proper performance management systems in, proper measuring systems, so that then there is a no surprise environment.
Part of the keys in the job title, finance director, means directing the future, not just looking at the past. So you're helping shape the future and help the people running the business make the right choices. So it's about direction setting.
Yeah, and it's about planning.
Yeah, and you used the word mentoring there, and you talked about guidance and looking at the future, which obviously means you need to be very involved with what is the point of the company, where does it want to be in a year, 3 years, 5 years' time. If you've got a range of clients that you're working with, how easy is it for you to keep those multiple goals at the forefront of your mind? You're sitting at your desk and the phone rings. You don't know which one of your 3 or 10 or 20 clients it is until you say hello. How do you cope with that sort of multitasking? If you'll forgive me, you're both men. It's well known.
Well, I'd say I would say I would think it would be very difficult to have 20 clients. But I think if you have, say, I've got 8 clients, and I think you can remember what those clients are up to. A key thing is that, like, at the start, you would understand the business. Just you dedicate time to understand the competition, understand where they're going, understand how they're going to win. Because it is about competition, how you win in the market. What is their point of difference? Why are they special? Why are they going to grow? And then from there, you then produce like a set of numbers, and you can just remember. I'm numerate. I can't remember numbers, sadly. So actually, it's just part of my makeup.
I think the other important point to make is that within FD4, we're actually very demanding on the finance directors that form our network, and one of the key requirements you must have in order to join us is the ability to manage multiple priorities, to be able to prioritise, and to exactly handle those situations that you described, Mark.
Interesting.
But you threw up another question. Have I got time to ask that?
Yeah.
Now, which is about, instead of comparing you to the company accountant, comparing you to because you did mention it's about learning the competition and presumably formulating a strategy to deal with that. What's the relationship between you and marketing directors?
With marketing directors, key partners. Again, I think one of the things, Mike, that you need to maybe remove is the stereotype version of the finance director as being the man that always says no. Again, where we are is we're about making money, we're about adding value, which means we have to understand the key drivers behind the business. And we both got many, many years' experience with Procter & Gamble, which is one of the leading marketeers, and that's where we've had our training. That's where we understand that making money is a lot more than just keeping the books.
Absolutely. When we have guests in on our show, we give them the option of choosing a little music. It's not Desert Island Discs, but hey, something they like. Next track we're going to play is Heroes by good old Mr. Bowie. Any particular reason we picked this one?
Yeah, just after the last few weeks, the Paralympics, it was such a fantastic. I just enjoyed watching it so much that they played that song when they came into the stadium. I thought it was appropriate to play that song.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm getting all goosebumpily thinking back to it myself. Let's hear it. The wonderful David Bowie, and heroes, aren't we all just heroes? Regular listeners to the show will know that from 3 till 3:30 is Q&A. You can phone in, you can email in, you can phone us on 01628 488 975. Please do phone while the music is playing. I'd love to have a producer sitting in another room to take your calls, but it's us taking the calls, so if you do it while we're talking, we're not going to answer the phone. Please do call us, though, with some questions for David and for Neil and for Mike and myself. You can also email questions if you're a little bit shy. Those go to studio@marlowfm.co.uk. You can ask us not to mention who you are, because you're not supposed to be listening to the radio at work, or you can allow us to give your company a little plug on the air. So that's ways to contact us, but we've got a quarter of an hour before that bit of the programme kicks in just after the news. Mike?
For Neil and David, I was just chatting there about the difference between part-time and interim, but I want to come back to that. Could you just explain to us the sorts of the range, the kind of companies that you currently work for, so we'll get a sense of, because when I was talking to you a moment ago, I really was thinking of my own business, which is really me and two other associates, which is too small, I think. So what kind of companies are you, on average, are you working with?
We've got a whole range, Mike, and also a range of sectors. I think probably at the bottom end of the range, we've got companies turning over about £500,000. And at the top end, I think, David, you've got a company which is approaching 20 million?
25 million plus. So, I mean, each situation is different. You can be taken for a project to help a specific thing. The company will have resources, or, every company's needs are different,
Yeah. It's in different sectors. I mean, we've got companies which are in the travel industry, and the company I'm helping at the moment is in the care industry. It's a company which just owns 7 care homes.
All right.
And it's a husband and wife owner have done a fantastic job at getting to a certain stage, but then in order to move on to the next stage, they just need a little bit more business experience, and so they've asked me to help in that area.
It's a good point, measuring company size, because that's a strong, successful company. I mean, turnover isn't it. It's more around like what the profitability is, what the added value is, what the cash generation is. So some quite small companies are very strong entities indeed.
What about measuring them in terms of numbers of employees? So when you described the company with multi-million-pound turnover, I'm thinking, well, that's probably a company that's already got a well-formed board, and would they not have a finance director already?
Well, if they're a trading company, then they can have, like I say, they can have quite a big turnover, and you've got to look. I think a better read of a company's size is gross profit. It's how much added value is actually being made by the company. That can make a big difference.
And remember, Mike, the short answer as well is that some companies still don't fully understand what a finance director does.
Right.
They just regard them in the stereotypical way as being glorified bookkeepers. And part of what we're doing is just raising the bar and helping people understand that when you use somebody from FD4, that you're actually going to be making an investment in the future of the company, and like any investment, it will add value if you get it right.
Well, going back to that point that I did say that we were chatting about, the difference between this term interim and part-time, thinking about the kind of company